Your customer is a buy switch that controls whether or not they buy from you, and right now it's switched off. That's why it feels like your ads aren't working, it costs too much to get a customer, or every sale just feels like it's way harder than it should be. Now, for years I had the exact same problem. I ran ad after ad, but every sale felt harder than the last. Now, I've spent the last decade obsessing over this problem. I've tried hiring agencies, I read books, and I took courses, but nothing really worked. So I decided that I had to figure it out on my own. Now, in the last 2 years, I've spent more than $15.6 million testing, refining, and figuring out what actually turns on that buy switch. And the result is that in the last year, my businesses did more than $50 million in revenue because I discovered a buy switch that nobody ever told me about. And I certainly never read about this in a book. Now, in this video, I'm going to share with you the most important lessons that I learned so you can turn your customer's buy switch on as well. Number one, the better you describe the problem, the more people will assume that you can fix the problem. In business and marketing, everything you do is about solving problems for the customers. That's your number one job. Before you ever talk about your product or service or what your product or service does, you have to clearly and vividly describe the problem that your customer is experiencing. And when you focus on describing their problem, you make them feel understood. And when someone feels understood, that's when trust starts to form. And more importantly, people will make a simple assumption. They'll assume that because you understand the problem better than anyone else, you probably know how to fix the problem better than anyone else. This is why the first step in any marketing or sales process is understanding the problem that your customers are experiencing in great detail. You have to understand their exact fears, their frustrations, their desires, their pain points. Then demonstrate that understanding by articulating exactly what they're going through. I articulate the problem everywhere possible. This includes on my ads, my landing pages, and during my sales presentations. Now, you don't want to just briefly mention their problem. It's important to go into detail and spend extra time vividly describing the experience that they've had. Now, when you do this, you're going to build rapport, you're going to create trust, and that's going to give them the confidence that you can solve the problem better than any of your competitors. Number two, never sell, always prescribe. When you go to the doctor and they say, here's what's wrong with you and here's the medication to fix it, you almost never argue with them. Most people never even question it. They say thank you, they pick up their prescription, they pay whatever they need to pay, and then they move on with their lives. That's because the doctor is the authority and has earned the right to prescribe. When you earn the same right in your business, everything becomes so much easier. One thing you have to understand is that people are silently begging to be led, and just knowing that will immediately improve your sales. You should never be wishy-washy or uncertain when you're diagnosing their problem, when you're explaining how to fix it, or telling them what needs to happen next. And yeah, sometimes the next step to solving their problem is buying the thing that you're selling. A lot of times sales will fall apart simply because no one tells the customer what to do next. Not what they could do, not what their options are, just what the next step is. I actually had a client whose office was getting a lot of inbound calls from a lot of potential customers, but they were only getting about 25% of them to book a consultation. People would call, they'd ask questions, and then most of them wouldn't come in for the consultation. I listened to the call recordings and the intake staff kept asking the same question. They kept asking, would you like to book a consultation? And 75% of people said no, because consultation means sales. So I made one simple change to the script. Instead of asking, would you like to book a consultation? I told them to say, your next step is to come in for a consultation. I have today at 1 p.m. or tomorrow at 3 p.m. Which works better for you? Nothing else changed other than that line, but booking rates jumped to about 90%. The only difference was instead of asking permission, we prescribed the next step. So how do you earn the right to prescribe? Well, today it's actually not that hard. My favorite way is creating content consistently for YouTube and Instagram and TikTok and similar platforms. When people see your content regularly, they start to know, like, and trust you. This automatically places you at a higher level of authority than all of your competitors. Often somebody will watch one video, then they'll watch another video, then they'll watch another video, and before you know it, they've watched 4 or 5 videos and they built rapport with you before they've ever even spoken to you. You become the trusted authority in their mind. And the cool thing is you can use this strategy even if they didn't find your contact organically. After somebody books a consultation or sales call with you, have your team send a few short videos that answer the most common questions people have beforehand. In those videos, articulate the problems that they're experiencing and help them solve small related problems. This allows you to prove that you can help them by actually helping them before they ever actually pay you, and that's how you earn the right to prescribe. Then, when you're finally on the consultation or the sales call, Tell them what their next step is. Don't be uncertain and don't overload them with options. Just give them one clear next step and you'll be shocked at how many people will just say yes. Because at the end of the day, most people just want to be told what to do. Number 3, no one buys when they are confused. Odds are you're an expert at what you do. You probably know more about your thing than 99% of the world. And ironically, that's one of your biggest problems. You understand your business so well that you forget the general public has no idea what you're talking about half the time. They don't understand the terminology, they don't understand the processes or the complexity of what you actually do to get them the result that they want. So when you're communicating with them, whether it's on your website, a social media post, a landing page, an ad, or in a sales consultation, the moment someone gets confused, their brain checks out. And when that happens, you've completely lost them. That's why you need to train yourself to speak as clearly and as simply as possible. Remember, the average American reads at an 8th grade level. So whenever I write ads or website copy, I always want to write at a 6th grade level or lower, even though many of my clients are professionals like doctors and lawyers who are extremely smart and they can read just fine. It doesn't matter. If you use industry jargon or technobabble they don't understand, they're immediately going to tune out and move on. You shouldn't make them do any work whatsoever. You should also always use simple stories and analogies and parables to make complex ideas easier to understand and remember. Because the second that someone is confused, you've already lost them. Number 4, people want certainty. The number one reason that somebody doesn't buy your product or service is because they're not certain that they're actually going to get the result that they're looking for. But there's a deeper psychological trigger at play. They're also not certain that their status is not going to take a hit as a result of buying your product or service. Let me explain what I mean. If somebody buys your product or service and they get a great result, then they made a great decision and their status stays intact. But if they buy your product or service and they don't get a great result, now they could potentially look stupid or feel stupid for making a bad decision and wasting their money. And that's going to immediately drop their status. Subconsciously, people will protect their status before almost anything else. So the way you protect their status is by increasing the certainty that they're going to get the result that they're looking for, while also giving them a way to back out without losing face if things don't work out. You essentially create an escape hatch, and that makes a big difference. The first way to increase certainty is through social proof. Reviews, testimonials, and real-world results matter because people trust them just as much as recommendations from friends and family. The more proof you have, the safer the decision feels. There's even a study from Bazaar Voice Network showing that once a business reaches 200 reviews, their revenue increases by 44%. At that point, certainty is extremely high. Now, the second way to increase certainty and protect status is with a guarantee. And that can be a money-back guarantee, a performance-based guarantee, or something even stronger than that. The goal is to make the customer feel safe, knowing that if things don't work out, they're not going to look foolish for trying. For example, in my supplement company, if our product doesn't work, we don't just give them their money back. We also buy them their competitor's product. That level of certainty protects both the result and the customer's status. Now, when you do this well, sales increase dramatically. Number 5, anytime you can reduce the amount of effort that a customer has to put into getting the result, it makes it that much more likely that they're going to buy. Human nature is your best friend here. People want results with as little effort as possible. The less effort and sacrifice required, the more people are willing to pay and the faster they're willing to pay. Look at weight loss as an example. The old way to lose weight was to go to the gym, exercise regularly, and stick to a diet. For most people, that's hard and it's not very fun. Now compare that to the simplicity of just taking a shot once a week and still losing weight. That's the appeal of the GLP-1 drugs like Ozempic. The message is simple. Don't go to the gym. Don't worry about your diet. Just take a shot once a week and we'll handle the rest. Which offers more attractive, working out and dieting for months on end or just taking a shot? That's why a gym membership costs around $15 a month at Planet Fitness, while GLP-1 medications can cost up to $1,300 per month and people still pay for it. People will always pay more to do less. And I'm seeing this play out in my own life right now. Right now, there's an agreement sitting in my inbox for a new estate plan. Along with that agreement is a list of 35 documents that I need to put together and send over to them. That agreement's been sitting there for over a month, unsigned, purely because of the effort required that I'm gonna have to put in. If they would have said, for an extra fee, give us the logins and we'll handle everything, I would have happily signed and paid immediately. The more you can reduce what your customer has to do to get the result, the easier it is to sell them and the more you can charge. Number 6, lead people away from pain, not toward pleasure. Most people think marketing is about selling a better future, but in reality, people are far more motivated to escape a bad present. There's 2 directions you can pull somebody. One is away from pain, and the other is toward pleasure. And while both matter, pain almost always wins, especially if it's a stranger who doesn't know who you are. Let me explain it this way. A few years ago, I was walking through downtown Orlando with my 10-year-old son, and some random guy came up and tried to hand my son a $10 bill. My instinct was immediate. I immediately pulled my son back and I went into protection mode because even though it was free and it was free money, I didn't trust it. My brain immediately assumed that there was a catch or that there was some sort of setup or something like that. Now contrast that with a different situation. Imagine you're walking down the street, you trip, you hit your head on the ground and you're bleeding, and a stranger comes over, he hands you something to stop the bleeding and he helps you sit down. In that moment, you don't question their intentions, you just accept the help. The difference is pain. When someone is in pain, they're open to being helped by a stranger. But when someone is being offered pleasure, especially from a stranger, they're much more skeptical. That's why when you're marketing to people who don't know who you are yet, you should start by addressing what they're trying to stop, not what they're trying to gain. Stop losing money, stop feeling overwhelmed, stop being embarrassed. These are things that will resonate with a cold audience of people who don't trust you. Now, once someone trusts you and once they believe that you understand them, then you can talk about pleasure. But pain opens the door. Pleasure comes later. If you lead with pain, you earn attention. If you lead with pleasure, you're early and you trigger resistance because people immediately become skeptical.